this regular meeting of council to order, and note that Councillor Fraze is joining us digitally, and Councillor Friesen is on holidays and will not be joining us this evening. Past that, we would like to acknowledge that the city of Winkler is situated on Treaty 1 land, home to the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that have been made on these territories and dedicate ourselves to a future based on respect for all peoples, moving forward to a harmonious, prosperous future together. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular council meeting of November 18th, 2025 be adopted. Mover?
Andrew.
Marvin.
Second. Thank you, Marvin. Any changes to that agenda? All in favor? Carried. Andrew, I'll get you to verbally say yes or no to each question if you don't mind.
I have to do video
And verbal. That way I've got enough struggle trying to see all of these guys here and trying to catch you there too. I'm certain I'm going to get lost, Andrew. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting of October 28th, 2025 be adopted. Mover?
Ryan.
Ryan got it.
Peter.
Peter was the second. You see them there. Do you have any questions or comments on those minutes? All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. We will come back to our community spotlight in just a moment.
Oh, we're good.
What was that? Oh, Ange is here. Hi. You
Snuck right in.
are very quiet. We'll jump straight into our community spotlight then. Genesis House.
Yep.
Ange Brown, I'll ask you to come to the podium and give us your presentation.
All right.
Welcome here this evening.
Thank you. I
Thank
did
you.
bring a little bit of stuff for you guys, but I figured you probably just need something for your minutes. So there's something at the bottom and then
Okay.
just our annual report. All right, let's see. All right, well, thank you for inviting me tonight, and some of you will have heard this presentation not very long ago when I was at the Chamber Small Business Luncheon. A little bit different, there's a few more pictures, which is always exciting. So I would like to thank you again for taking the time to allow me some space at this meeting, and also you know, recognizing that you have already really helped smooth the way for our project that we're working on through zoning as well as tax relief. So thank you for all of that. So I'll tell you just a little bit about Genesis House, but the majority of my talk today is going to be about our new project. So Genesis House has been around for 41 years. Every year since COVID, the occupancy has just increased. We see people staying longer. Last year, our beds were slept in 2,305 nights, and our crisis calls were 1,463. Across the province, there isn't a bed to be had most nights. We could have somebody here from the PAW. You know, it really just, if you're looking for safety somewhere. So our stays are longer. We've gone from 13 nights on average to 16. And for folks that are actually trying to are going to try to start off on their own and are going to leave the violence behind, the longest stays, 87 was last year. This year it's 135 nights. So it's just taking so much longer to find places to go. So our mission statement, the Genesis House mission statement is that we provide shelter, support, and education around gender-based intimate partner and family violence in South Central Manitoba. So our next closest shelter would be Steinbach or Portage or Winnipeg. And then there are, just for your information, there's 10 provincially funded shelters. So yeah, so that's where people would move around between those 10. Most of them are about the same size as Genesis House, which is, we have room for 5 women and 11 kids. So our catchment area is pretty large. It's 62,000 people. It covers 9,791 square miles with 13 municipalities, including a combination of cities, towns, First Nation communities, as well as municipalities. So the picture of our project. So a number of years back, we started talking about this, and of course for us, I have been with Genesis House for a long time, recognize that all of the years it has been talking about the biggest barriers, which are childcare, transportation, which you folks are looking after, and housing. And the housing has just become a crisis. And at this point, for us, it has been a crisis for a while, but for the rest of Canada, I think that crisis feeling is pretty new. So lack of safe, affordable housing remains one of the leading barriers for women and children escaping violence. It's also one of the biggest reasons that we're seeing women and children in homeless shelters. So what exactly is transitional housing? So we would call transitional housing, they keep telling me I have to use the word transitional housing. Second stage is actually what we've always called it, and we've had a single unit of second stage for the whole time I've worked at the shelter. The problem is it's just one house, and it just fits one family at a time. So what we know about that one house is that when people stay in that house with the added support, the length of time that they get that wraparound support, that the odds are that they will not find themselves in a high-risk relationship again, which will of course lead to better outcomes, not only for the woman, but also for her kids. Because we just have the one house, I don't have good statistics on that because it's just one family that's in there for 2 years at a time, sometimes 3 years, depending on the circumstance. But I will tell you anecdotally that it's about 75% that find themselves not back at a high-risk relationship. So at a second stage, what we're building is going to look like safe, individual housing. Each person that comes will have their own apartment. This building has 1-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, and 3-bedroom apartments. And while they're there, they will have wraparound supports. So that means that we will be providing a variety of programming, including healing programs, art therapy, parenting programs to build capacity, rent smart, financial literacy. We're gonna pull in all the partners. We've been pulling them in anyways. Now we're just gonna make a comfy spot so that they can come on a rotation all the time. Job readiness as well as healthy relationships. So, and then of course there will be, once we have people actually living in the space, we'll get the feedback from them about what they feel they need. So these are the things that we're thinking, but I'm sure that list will grow. So why is it important? There are so few options for women that would allow them to stay in our area. So a lot of times if the person has grown up or has family in this area, there's no place to find to live. So they end up being pushed out of a community where they might have support. In order to, they need time. The women and the children that we are serving need a period of time that they can feel safe, and that they have time to heal, that they can grow new connections, grow new relationships, and grow themselves. That will take time. And so I know one of the questions we get asked regularly is, what does a stay? Is it gonna be a 1-year stay, a 2-year stay? At this point, we haven't put a number on it. Because of what we've seen in our second stage, we've had some people that need 9 months, and we have some that need 3 years. So we figure it will even out in the end to probably be around 2 years, but it's not like we're going to show someone the door at 2 years if there's still some work happening. So in 2023, 12% of the women that left our program, left the residential program of Genesis House, 12% could find housing. So that meant a lot of people didn't find housing, and where did they end up? And what we know from the stats we keep is that they end up couch surfing for a while, so they stay with family and friends until that gets old, and then they end up back in the high-risk relationship because that seems the only option. So 12%, 16% last year, so it improved a little bit. 16% were able to go to their own housing. So that's still a very low number. 88% of the people that we see are identifying housing and continued support as their greatest need as they're leaving their abuse. And 50% of returning clients identify a lack of housing as the primary reason for their readmittance. And it's interesting as well that a third of the people that we saw last year, a third of those women had already left the relationship, had their own housing, their own lease, and were still being harassed to the point that they were not safe in their own home with their own lease. So that added layer of protection that our transitional housing will offer will make a difference for those folks. So historically, stays at shelter have been 30 days, and we've had to ask the province for extensions if we want them to stay longer. They have been a lot more flexible because they recognize that this is not a Manitoba problem, this is a Canadian problem. And so we are getting those extensions. The problem with that is we can be full all the time, but new people that call the crisis line can't find a safe place to be. And so again, the reason for our project, a safe place so that we can make room for new people that will need the space. It also is challenging for staff. We've never had, like in the last 5 years, we've had to turn folks away, and they're having to assess, well, all types of abuse, emotional, verbal, sexual, financial, we will talk about all those things, and they're all abuse, but at this point we're having to assess what the lethality of a situation will be. So we can offer the room to a person that is at highest risk for death. And so that's a place we've never been before. And that's really hard when you have to say no to someone. So a glimpse inside. So this is the main floor, and you'll see on the left-hand side, that is the Life Skills Kitchen, and that's where the majority of our programming will take place. Along the wall at the top, we have a childcare space that will fit 16 kids, so everybody can't be in there at a time, so we'll have to work programming around that. We have a few suites on the main floor. I had hoped to avoid that, but with the grants the way they come out, I wasn't able to. So that's the main floor. Each of the other floors has a lounge as well, so that families of that floor will be able to connect in the lounges. I also was not able to secure laundry in each suite. I really wanted that, but there are limitations and budget limitations, and so we have laundry on each floor. The courtyard. So right now, this is a pretty blank slate. I'm fighting to save trees, probably no surprise to any of the folks that I'm standing in front of, that I'm fighting to save a few of the trees on the yard. We took some down earlier, but the arborist report was deadly. So I'm working with that a bit. But the courtyard right now, blank slate, but we have some time to work on that, but it will be fenced in, and so within that space, the families will be safe. The next slide is actually a picture of what one of the suites looks like, and you'll see that bed. Like, I don't know if you folks have heard the story of our beds, but the community, of course, always comes to the rescue, and so the Red River College welding program is making the beds. And they will not go anywhere. Like, I think a tornado could come. Those will not move. We had it on display at Fawn and Cub this last weekend. And we've also had all the mattresses donated. So for beds, we're good. But so they're all single beds, and we'll move them together. If we need a double bed, we'll move them. But otherwise, we've gone with all singles. We have 9 suites that are accessible out of our 25. And so we're prepared for whatever situation, and we're not as prepared at the shelter for that, I will admit that. And this building also will have an elevator, and that's actually also an added piece of security because you can't move to a floor without that fob. So what does it mean for our communities? Well, we're closing gaps. We're closing gaps in services that should be available to women and kids, and it shouldn't matter where you live to be able to access those services. So we're closing that gap. You guys will have likely seen that we have a radiothon coming up this weekend, and we've already had donations coming in for that. So we'll be at Co-op at Home for Thursday and Friday, and this will really, for the women and the kids, it will make a huge difference. And one of the grants that we've received asked how many people this would impact, and I said, well, in the course of time that I could. This is a 10-year, I think that's what they say, is their life expectancy about 10 years? It should last way longer, but it's 684 people, and that's an incredible amount of people. So we've also closed the gap around funding. So in the time that we've been working on the project, I think probably the last time I saw you folks, I probably said $2 million, and we're now at about 600,000 is the gap that we're closing. So. Yeah, so we've had good support, and it's a very exciting and often sleepless nights for me time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that presentation, for the information. You are right. This is the second time I've heard it in the last little while. and it's compelling every single time. It's concerning when you hear things of having to make a decision in terms of who you're going to help
Yeah,
based on, are you in mortal danger or only in severe physical danger?
yeah, yeah.
That's disappointing, that we as a society are in a place that is that. I will say, thank you very much for your tenacity over the last several years in particular. You've been at this for some time, but the last several years in particular,
Yeah.
you've been like a dog on a bone.
Little bit, yeah.
And you've chased it. And we thank you for that. It's a service that is unfortunately needed. And the fact that you're prepared to step into that void, to be there and to make that happen, thank you for that.
It was
It's
us or
appreciated.
Steinbeck.
We'll take it here.
Yeah, totally.
Actually, it will be us and Steinbeck,
There you go.
Excellent.
just a little ways down.
Good. Council, do we have any comments or questions of Ange?
I was just curious with the stats that you'd showed there. Sorry, I've been yelling at people too long today, so I apologize for that. The stats that you showed there, 12% to 88%, would that be similar for other shelters, or is that kind of Winkler specific, or?
I would think that is similar for the shelters right across the
Okay.
province. We probably have longer stays than most.
Okay.
But that's also because if you're a smaller shelter, it's a little bit harder to
Yeah.
slide into the crack and kind of fall into the woodwork a bit.
Yeah.
And so, we also, just for your information, we do more counseling than any other shelter in the province.
Wow.
It's, the connecting piece is really, really important.
Yeah.
So that, just a stat that pops out every single time we get our annual stats is that we're just doing more of that. But it's
Yeah.
person-led, so if they don't want to
Right.
talk, we don't force folks to,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
No, I certainly appreciate the work that you're doing. Absolutely, it's like Henry said, a much-needed service in the community. So, thank
Yeah.
you for all the work you do and your team.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
And just for your information, I don't know if I mentioned last time either, we do take crisis calls from men as well, and usually end up sheltering one or two every year. So,
I should call in because my wife wouldn't let me watch the Jets game the other night, but
oh,
that's not real abuse, I guess.
well, you can try the crisis line. You might find a sympathetic ear there anyway.
But, yeah, most of us take a safe home for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've grown up in a safe home, you take it so for granted, and that's quite obvious. And obviously, not everyone has a safe home to go home to.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep forgetting.
we're-
There's something I always want to start this with, and I keep forgetting to do that, which is asking you to think about what is your favorite place in your house? Like, and why is it your favorite? And what does it smell like? And what does it feel like? And who else is there? And so for a lot of our families, that's just not a question we could ask. They don't have that experience. So, but if you just think about that tonight before you put your head down on the pillow,
Yeah.
what's your favorite place? And most of us, we can hardly wait to get home, right? At the end of the
Exactly.
day, can hardly wait.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd like to echo Mayor Siemens's comments on the fact that you've done an excellent job, worked very hard. I guess you're the right person at the right place at the right time.
I think you're
because-
right, yeah. Yeah, I won't pretend that some of this wasn't luck.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
but I've often heard the saying, "You've got to be good to be lucky." So, I think it speaks well to your passion, and to your ingenuity, and to never giving up your tenacity. So,
Yeah, well,
thank you, and keep going.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's actually also a team of people behind me that just keeps pushing. Like, they'll steamroller over me if I don't keep pushing. So,
Good.
Either way, thank you very much
Yeah.
for the
Yes.
presentation
Thanks,
and
Ange.
the
You're very
information,
welcome.
Ange.
Thanks, Ange.
Thank you.
Thank you. Continuing on our agenda, you will note two pieces of correspondence there. The first one is one that I particularly like to see. It's a note from our accountant, the Exchange Group, just a note to council stating that our statements are complete, and the line that is most important to me there, it's an unqualified opinion that there's no concerns from what they've found, and that they've appreciated working with our staff to get to that place. So Jody, thank you to you and your team, firstly, for the diligent work that you've done to do that, and then for working carefully with our accountant to bring that to a final end result. Past that, we have a Manitoba Crime Stoppers 2026 fundraising campaign request letter, as noted in our shared notes there. That will show up at your annual planning as part of the questions that will be asked of the financial ask. Anybody have comments on either of those? We will then continue into finance and our accounts. Be it resolved that the accounts payable in the amount of $5,855,257.13 as approved by the Finance Committee be approved for payment. Mover.
Andrew?
Second.
Ryan?
Ryan got that one. As always, the check register is attached. You have an opportunity to take a peek at that. If you have any questions, you've either asked them already of staff, or if you still have something here. Not seeing any. All in favor? Carried.
Yes.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the financial report and statements for October 2025 be received for information. Mover.
Peter?
Second.
Marvin?
And again, the statement is attached. You've had an opportunity to run through it. Any questions or comments? Numbers are on track and look good for the year.
Curious why our ice rental revenue is way up. We just under budget, or because that was Winkler and full all the time either way, but not important, but just nice to see the rink revenue is good.
It is. It'll help Councillor Friesen to have good comfort in the fact that ice rental use is up. So that's good.
Right, it's a typical question for him, so.
And he's not here to ask it today.
Seeing nothing further, all in favor? And
Yeah.
that is carried. So the next one, I'm going to run through the whereases as well to make sure that everyone's got a little bit of perspective on this. Whereas the Public Utilities Board Order Number 73-20 or /23 directed the City of Winkler to review its water and wastewater rates for the Winkler Water and Wastewater Utility for adequacy and file a report with the board, as well as an application for revised rates, if required, by no later than July 1st, 2025. Whereas the City of Winkler's 2024 audited financial statements were completed in October 2024. That should say October 2025, I believe, which are required to undertake a full rate review. Be it resolved that Winkler request the Public Utilities Board provide an extension for this directive to February 28th, 2026. Mover.
Marvin?
Second.
Michael?
As background on this, traditionally we like to have an expedited rate review, but we always knew that when our water and wastewater projects would come online, we would need to do a full review. And at this point in time, we're close enough to online on each. Wastewater literally at this moment coming online, water within weeks of coming online. This is the time to do a full review. So therefore, the request has been made of staff that we ask for a slight delay to give us the time to do that full rate review to make sure that the rates that we're charging are appropriate and correct for the expenses that we have. Is there a further thought, Jody, or further explanation that we need to that?
I think you covered it.
Okay. Any other questions of council?
Well, I guess it would be nice maybe in an event, because I know other municipalities have had their request pushed back as well. If we could get a bit of an idea before we go into, make a decision which way to go, we could have probably started with the full rate review earlier and have it done. I don't know if it was possible. Now it's a bit of a delay.
This is a delay, yeah, like, as I think Wendy supplied a note, like, it really depends on what method the board accepts, and
Right.
we thought they would accept one method, they didn't, and so
Yeah.
that brought us to this point.
Yeah, so it would be nice if we could, if there was an opportunity to discuss with them what would be acceptable so we can go on the right way first, but it's
Yeah.
hard to know.
Hard to know
Yeah.
if we could have done that or not, but, yeah.
I think ultimately, any work with the Public Utilities Board has a time on it that's not always short.
Yeah.
It takes some time to get those answers.
Mhm.
To be where we are today is the right place.
Yeah.
We do want a full review now
Right.
that we have both of these utilities coming fully online. Would have been, as you mentioned, would have been very nice had we been able to have one more expedited review.
Yeah.
But maybe this is the best route to go, and ultimately that's the directive we now have.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
certainly
the route
if
we'll
they,
go.
if they would grant us that extension,
And I suspect they'll almost need to, but
yeah.
we'll ask and find out.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Continuing then, be it resolved that the City of Winkler purchase 20153 Road 15N with the legal description of Southwest 22-3-4W with a possession date of December 31st, 2025 for the price of $2,125,000 plus GST using funds from the general reserve. Mover?
Ryan?
Second.
Peter?
Jody, if you could help us with this?
Yes, this is the site of the Green Opportunities, and it's located in the same area as our wastewater treatment facility, including some additional acres that we purchased a couple of years ago, which is now also being utilized for the wastewater treatment facility. And so it made a lot of sense for us to get this last remaining parcel of that land. Part of the reason for that will be that if we have future expansion needs, then we'll have the land right adjacent to our facility where we can do some of that expansion.
Thank you. Council?
Yeah, I think it's prudent foresight to go ahead with this.
Absolutely. I am thankful that staff brought it to us. This certainly helps to future-proof our wastewater solutions at that location for many years to come. So thank you. All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Be it resolved that the Winkler Police Board minutes for the November 5th, 2025 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Andrew?
Second?
I can help.
Andrew, or, sorry, Marvin got the second. Any comments on what we see there? Is there anything we need to be particularly aware of?
I don't think so. Anything jump out at you guys?
Everything seemed to be fairly straightforward to me.
Yeah.
Some of the stats were a little lower, that was good to see.
Excellent. Not seeing anything further? All in
I guess the
favor?
only thing we don't have on there is our strategic plan, updates, hey, Jody? But
Right.
targets for our strategic plan in there, which for the most part are, I think targets is the odd one here and there that doesn't, but
Yep.
there's always reasons for each, but.
No, good to see. All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. That would take us to item 7.2, the Winkler Fire Department report. Mover?
Michael?
Second?
Ryan?
Anything there that we should take a look at?
No, it's been another busy month and what's been a busy year for the gang there, and on top of the calls that they still stay on top of their training. Commendable as well.
It is, and it's been fairly consistent this year that we're just a touch up over last year. That trend is continuing, and if we look at where we are right now based on projections, We will end up about 10, 11 calls above last year, which was a fairly heavy workload.
Yeah.
But again, a talented, well-equipped, well-trained crew that is able to respond when Winkler needs that service. All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Be it resolved that the minutes for the Transportation and Utilities Committee meeting of September 23rd, 2025 be adopted. Mover?
Marvin?
Second.
Peter?
Minutes are attached. Anything that we should make sure we note?
Well, I can highlight a couple of things.
Please.
We've been expecting since spring of 23, the culverts on the south side of town through the highway to be replaced. And we were given original thoughts that it would happen this coming winter. They are saying right now that it's the Highways Board, MTI, and they're saying now that they will delay it because they want to do a better drainage study for downstream. So that's one thing that it's going to happen later. Wastewater treatment project that we have, a large project, is ahead of schedule and budget. And it's starting to show that it's already working very well, so that's great. The water treatment plant is it's still on schedule and on budget according to this. They're working on integrating the different systems to work together so we can, when we add the new part to it, that it'll be a seamless integration. And one that many of us are watching closely, myself once or twice a day I drive by, the W-Car, the arena renovation. It's coming along, and I heard today that they have upwards of 70 people on some days working together very much.
Wow.
And that is still on budget and still scheduled for February completion. So those are some of the highlights that I had on that.
It's exciting. Questions from council? All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Be it resolved that the following amendments be made to Schedule D of the Fees and Charges Bylaw number 2285-22. Mover?
Peter?
Second.
Michael?
Those are listed there. Jody, do we need to be, and again, listed as well as tracked there, so you have to see them, but is there anything there we should be particularly aware of, Jody?
No, minor changes here to the portions on cemeteries, and those costs are just rising by the rate of inflation for this last 12 months, which was 2.1%.
Council, all in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Be it resolved that the minutes and reports for the October 8th, 2025 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Ryan?
Second.
Michael?
Reports and minutes are attached. Any comments?
No, October's meeting was fairly straightforward and
Lots of stuff going on still, as we can see.
Yeah.
Permit activity, inspection activity is starting to come down a little bit, but when I look at the number of permits and I look at what's all happening, there's a lot going on at MSTW.
yeah, the region continues to grow, and that continues to keep the team there busy.
Excellent.
At our last meeting, they talked about, they showed us a list of some of the largest projects that, I think it was the top 50 largest projects that were happening in this year. It's amazing to see, across the region, how it's growing. So, there's some large projects, obviously, in Winkler, but also in Morden and Stanley and some of the other places as well. So,
Very nice.
yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Be it resolved that the Morden Veterinary Services Board meeting minutes for the October 20th, 2025 meeting be received for information. Mover,
Michael?
second.
Peter?
Again, attached for your review. Fairly straightforward, Michael?
Yeah, that meeting was purely to approve taking out a mortgage to repair the roof on the existing building. And, yeah, just confirm that and I guess make that official.
Excellent. All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the Central Manitoba Tourism Board meeting minutes for the September 8th, 2025 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Michael?
Second.
Ryan?
Minutes are attached. Any questions or comments there?
Just June continues to do a lot there. They actually had their strat plan meeting today.
Nice.
Yeah, so they did that. I wasn't there, but I'll look forward to getting the update on that. And yeah, they're planning on their, I guess, best routes for exposure, you know, whether it's home shows or their tour guides, and yeah, not even done this year, and they're full steam into next year's planning.
Very nice. I note that you continue to have an accounting program that's not quite working the way you
Yeah.
need, so I encourage you to hopefully find something there that will work there as well.
Yeah.
Other comments? All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. That takes us to our other business, and the question that was brought to us a couple of weeks ago now with regards to the cannabis plebiscite. We will remember that about 7 or so years ago, when cannabis was legalized, there was also the opportunity to have retail establishments sell that in each community. At that time, Council of the Day asked the community, and the community suggested they were not yet interested in that. We had a presentation here several weeks ago that suggested that we should go back to the community and ask again. And they made a number of points, and they had a few pieces of information that they wanted to share with council. We mentioned at that time, obviously, that until there's less than a year to the next civic election, there was no point in us having that discussion and making any decisions. Today's conversation is specifically council. There's a number of people in the community who have an interest in this, but this is not a hearing, this is not a presentation. This is now an opportunity for council to discuss and determine whether or not we will ask the residents to vote. And may make some sense to make sure we bring this back. There's an opportunity 2 ways for this to end up back on our civic election in October on that ballot. Jody, maybe if you would help us with what those 2 ways look like, that'll help council determine what we're looking at.
Sure. So the Liquor Gaming Cannabis Control Act lays out the 2 ways that that can be done. One is that the council of the municipality considering it would pass a resolution to allow a plebiscite to be held in conjunction with the municipal election. As Mayor already mentioned, you can't do that sooner than 1 year prior to the election and not later than 90 days before that voting day. So we are within that window. The other way is if council either doesn't put the resolution on the table, or if it gets, if that resolution doesn't pass, then people in the community can initiate a petition, and a successful petition would also put the plebiscite on the next municipal election. And by a successful petition, that would require 20% of eligible voters in that municipality. And there's very specific requirements around that petition. The wording of it has to be approved by the Liquor Gaming and Cannabis Authority. It has to be also done within a certain time frame, and there's also prescriptions around the length of time it takes to get the petition done, from first signature to last signature.
Thank you very much, Jody. What I'd like to do is put the question on the floor so that each one of you has an opportunity to speak to it. Just to be crystal clear, we are not making a decision today, nor will we at all, whether or not there will be a retail sale of cannabis in Winkler. So if we run through the question, I'll ask you to listen carefully. We can certainly discuss it after that and run through any questions you may have. Whereas the Liquor, Gaming, and Cannabis Control Act provides that a plebiscite may be held in conjunction with the next municipal election to allow retail sales of cannabis within the City of Winkler, and whereas a group recently made a presentation to the City of Winkler Council requesting that such a plebiscite be held, and whereas, according to the Act, the Council of a municipality may consider a resolution to allow such plebiscite no earlier than 1 year before the next voting day and no later than 90 days before the next voting day. And whereas the City of Winkler is now within the timeline prescribed by the Act, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Winkler approve a plebiscite to be held in conjunction with the next municipal election to allow the voters of Winkler to decide if retail sales of cannabis should be permitted within the City of Winkler. And be it further resolved that the wording of the plebiscite be as followed. Should licensed retail cannabis stores be allowed in the City of Winkler, with two options listed? Yes, they should be allowed, or B, no, they should not be allowed. Mover.
Marvin.
Second.
Michael?
That puts it on the floor. Gentlemen, your thoughts or comments?
I guess Winkler has had a history of putting plebiscites of this nature in front of our voters over the years. We've had a number of them on different stages of liquor, and it seems that something that was probably appreciated by the public, they were able to have input in this rather than have council on some of these items make a unilateral decision. So in that sense, it probably makes sense to do this in this case again.
Thank you.
I think, yeah, concurring with Councillor Platt, the fact that we can put it on the ballot for our voters, I believe is important. And I was trying to think, I think it was Friday's Free Press, just the timing of it was interesting. Had an article and they just talked about the high level of compliance within the province from the cannabis retailers, which, whether yes or no, I just thought was a good bit of information as I read through the article on just the seriousness that they take by and large in their business and doing things the right way.
Thank you, Michael.
It's a tough one. I think the other option is where they go around and they get the petition done, and it's a lot more work. One side of me says, let's just go ahead and put the plebiscite on, and the other side says, oh, we'll make them do a little more work for what they get. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, it should be the people that make the decision. It shouldn't be just a few of us sitting up top here to represent them. I think the people should make the choice.
Thank you, Peter. Thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with what Peter said. It's a tough decision to weigh this off, but yeah, I'm still kind of struggling with this decision, to be honest. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Andrew, have you got any thoughts?
I don't have anything further to add, no.
I think no matter what happens with this question today, or with what happens, whether or not or how it gets onto the next election ballot, this will be a difficult decision that has a lot of emotion tied to it for many people. And I think the comment that you made, Peter, is important to me, and it's something where I am. I believe the citizens of Winkler have the right to make this decision. And whether they have to make it twice with somebody knocking on their door to sign a petition to put this on the ballot, or whether we put this on the ballot and then give our citizens that opportunity to have that say, it's their right to have that say, and I'd like to give that to them with as little drama as possible prior to the question. That's where I would sit. If we don't have further thoughts, I will ask the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? One abstention?
Are you giving us a veto? I can't see whose hands are up.
We have yays from Ryan, from Henry, from Marvin, and from Michael, correct?
I was a nay.
I'm sorry, my apologies. Ryan was a nay. Peter was
Nay.
a nay.
Oh, man. So you're leaving, what happens if it's a tie?
It's defeated.
Defeated.
Oh, man, you guys. Think this was me? Should have stayed home. I struggle with this, just like you guys are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came in here ready to say no, so I mean, gonna change my mind, I don't know, but I was gonna vote no, so I guess I should stick with that.
Okay, that leaves us with 3 yeses, and it leaves us with 3 noes. That motion is defeated. In order for this to be on our next municipal ballot, the proponents would need to talk to the community and get the signatures of 20% of our eligible electors. Is that correct, Jody?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you for your consideration and the thought that each of you put into this. That then takes us to delegations and hearings. Be it resolved that this regular meeting of council recess for the purpose of holding public hearings. Mover?
Ryan.
Second.
Peter?
All in favor? Carried. Jody, if you would help us with the rules for hearings and how we're gonna go about it.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Hang on 1 second. Okay, hang on. Trying to get this to cooperate with me here.
Trying to put us into the corner someplace.
There we go. Okay, our first, I'm just adjusting the screen now because we have other guests that are going to be joining us.
Right.
So we have a application here for, on behalf of the applicant here, Morden Magic's Gymnastics Club. It's an application for conditional use for an indoor participant recreation that is in the industrial zone. So that is a conditional use. Current zoning is SI, which is Service Industrial. Location is 890 Adora Avenue. We have no objections to this application, and we have Tracy Bickert with us virtually to speak on behalf of the application.
Okay, before we jump into it, I'll say for this hearing and for any of the other ones, we will first make note of what the hearing is. We'll give an opportunity for proponents to speak to it, then an opportunity for anybody who's in opposition to speak to it. And I will ask everybody to come to the podium to speak so that we have an opportunity to get your voice heard. I will ask you to identify yourself by name and then make your comments. I will also ask that all comments be directed to the chair. If we would then like to start, we will give an opportunity for Tracy to speak. Or was it Tracy, Jody?
Yeah,
My apologies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Did you want to know what we plan on doing with the space, or I wasn't
We,
prepared to?
no problem, Tracy. What we do have
Yeah.
is, we do have your application in front of us, and
Yeah.
we have our staff's notes to it. Just wondering if you wanted to make any presentation towards what you're looking to do, knowing, of course, that we've seen your application and our staff's review of it.
Right, yeah, we are wanting to run a gymnastics club out of the space. We currently have run it out of Morden, at the Access Center for the past over 30 years, and they've made it clear to us that they would prefer us to find our own space. They usually book other events over us, over our bookings, so we don't have a consistent, we can't run a consistent program there. So we have been looking for our own space for a while and have found this and are hoping to run the program in Winkler and expand our program as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else here wishing to speak to this, either for or against? Council, do we have any questions or comments? Not seeing any. Are we ready to close?
I think so.
Be it resolved that public hearing for conditional use application number CU 2025-008 for 890 Adora Avenue be closed. Mover.
Marvin?
Second.
Michael?
Comments? All in favor? Closed. Be it resolved that council approve conditional use application number CU 2025-008, subject to a 1.83 meter tall chain link fence along the south, being the rear property line, and subject to MSTW occupancy permit approval. Mover?
Ryan?
Second.
Peter?
All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Thank you very much, Tracy. That's carried.
All right, can we talk about the approval for the fence, or is that does that have to be done, or is that?
Based on the decision that's been made here, yes, that fence would need to be there.
It would need to be there? Can I just ask why it is?
And I would suggest that those conversations would be had with our staff. They'd be prepared to review that with you and the rationale that was given for that recommendation. And this recommendation would have been shared with you earlier.
Yes, it was. I just had responded, but I didn't get any response back, so I just wasn't sure if it needed to be spoken about here or how I go about it.
Typically, once the conditions are here, generally the proponents are aware of those conditions. So when we have them and then we approve them at this point in time, the project is approved subject to that condition. If there's any further discussion on that, I would encourage you to have that with our staff. They'd be happy to do so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jody? That takes us to a combined public hearing for bylaw number 2354-25 and variance number VA 2025-024 for 272 Albert Street.
As mentioned, this is a combined public hearing. So firstly, we're considering a rezoning at 272 Albert Street from R1 residential to R3 residential higher density. On the variance here, the applicant is Glenberg Design Builders on behalf of owners Isaac Wiebe and Anna Wiebe. Again, same address, 272 Albert. And the purpose here is in order to construct a multi-unit dwelling. The variance is requested to reduce the north front yard setback from the required 25 feet to 16 feet. In regards to the application, we do have a petition that was received by our staff, signed by 16 people. It's attached in your package, along with some other supporting documents and a report to council. If you wish, I can highlight some of the items in that report.
I would appreciate that, Jody. Thank you.
Okay. So what we have here is a request to build a two-story, 12-unit apartment building. There's a number of things covered in your report. I'll highlight a few on zoning, already mentioned, that rezoning is required for this to work. The R3 zoning allows for up to 35 dwelling units per gross acre. That would allow up to a maximum of 13 units. Council, of course, is able to vary that in their approval if they wish. The variance there is listed along with some information about the depth of the lot and the need for parking spaces. There was a multi-unit dwelling to the west of this site which received a similar major variance approval for 16 feet back in February of this year. Just a note that there may be, we don't have final site plan or anything like that. There might be changes to the site plan, and we would look at that as staff prior to a development permit approval. The developer, just so you know, has reached out to neighbors within a 50-meter buffer to share information and to answer questions about their plans. As mentioned, we have the letter of objection by way of petition. Under the water and sewer servicing category, I just want to point out a note from our engineering services, which says, we have a pretty good understanding of the sewer infrastructure limits in this specific neighborhood. And because of that, it's their recommendation that the R3 zoning be approved, but that the density of the development be restricted to a maximum of 9 dwelling units. That would be done through a development agreement should this be approved by council. Aside from that, we've also identified the need for sidewalks here, and it's also recommended by staff that the developer, should this be approved, the developer provide to the city a 50% contribution towards a 6-foot wide sidewalk for the 97 approximately feet of width of the property, and that we also would include that in the development agreement. Aside from that, we're happy to answer any questions that you have, and Stephanie Jantz, our manager of planning and permitting, is here to help with that as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Jody. Is the proponent here wishing to make a presentation?
Yes. If you can hear me all right, then I would love to.
We can. I'll get you to start with your name and then we'll go from there.
Excellent. Sam Brook from Winkler Design Builders. Mayor Siemens and city councilors, thank you for the opportunity to speak to this evening. I wish to obviously speak in favor, because if I don't, I guess I should keep my mouth shut. I have a fair amount here to share with you, just as I believe that the majority of this information is pertinent to the decision. The following areas are the key points that I'd like to emphasize. Winkler is a thriving city with unprecedented growth over the past number of years. The demand for housing continues, and with employment opportunities, our city is growing at a rate of 3% per year. City Council, together with local developers, are being challenged daily to come up with a creative solution to support the growth. We have a constantly changing community, and we have been and must continue to be open to change in order for us to grow. As you know, Bloomberg Design Builders has been a part of that change. Our focus has been on infill projects that provide a sense of inclusion and integration into the community, where people can feel accepted into existing neighborhoods rather than feeling like they are the new people in the new neighborhoods. I don't think that we can discount the value of this for newcomers. We don't want people to just move here, but we want them to stay, feel safe, feel welcome, accepted, and we want them to become contributing members and to our growth and our success. Using existing infrastructure, these developments are immediate financial benefits with minimal input cost to the city and therefore beneficial to all of our residents. City Council has looked favorably on infill projects where possible for many merits because they focus on what is good for the overall community. These are prudent and fiscally responsible choices that are not always easy and can affect some more than others, but I believe are being balanced and considered responsibly by our city leaders. Current infrastructure and support services continue to be part of our planning department's list of items when determining each and every development application, and this project has been no different. Due diligence is what I have seen from our planning team, and I'm thankful for their hard work and their correction and redirection where it's needed. Speaking to the benefits of this exact location, travel in and out of this development is ideal with a connection to main arteries of the city as well as external access being within very close proximity. Exiting east just 300 feet brings residents to options on George Avenue which lead them to Pemberley East West or to Eastview Drive, which provides quick access to Highway 14 and beyond. Furthermore, this location also provides walking or biking distance to hundreds of jobs, to nearby gas stations, convenience stores, to churches, restaurants, the neighborhood, and to large grocery and other retail stores. Exiting west connects then to Highway 32, which provides a quick access to all services in the northern parts of the community. While mentioned earlier, while visiting with many of my neighbors to this property, I received many compliments about how the first building at 268 Albert looks, how the building process was reasonably quiet and respectful, and how the lighting of the parking lot was appreciated as it is not invasive on backdoor neighbors. Some appreciated the wood fence that they share on the property line. Some appreciated support that we provided with some landscape services on the yard that needed attention even before we began. Through discussions with the majority of our neighbors, I did not get the sense that people were opposed to the development. However, some did have concerns, some of which I hope can be addressed through clarification. We were a little surprised to see some of the names on the petition that was circulated, although I do respect the decision that all have made to do so. After many hours of conversation with neighbors, I feel it's important to look at possible drawbacks and concerns that have been shared as the people living there can have unique insights. The concerns that I've heard are as follows: additional traffic and specifically lack of lighting on the street, lack of sidewalk, narrowing street at the west end, and snow piles in winter at the west end that tend to narrow the road. I believe that the city of Winkler is in conversation about several of these items, if not the majority of them. And council are planning at some point tonight, if there's opportunity, maybe after I've spoken, maybe somebody can speak to that as well, just to confirm that for any neighbors that are listening or are in attendance tonight. We have collected traffic data on Victoria Street and on Albert Street. As everybody knows, traffic data can be construed all sorts of different ways depending on what you did and how you did it. But we can say that the two buildings on Victoria Street together are responsible for approximately 12% of the daily traffic on that street. We can also say that Albert Street overall sees 40 to 45% less vehicle count than Victoria Street currently. Drainage at the back of our property where it meets with the residents of Red Rock was raised again as it was when we proposed the 268 Albert property. Solutions were discussed, and from our observations last week, it looks like the drainage swale has been reshaped. And I don't know to what extent, but I do know that work has been done there as promised by the city of Winkler. Maybe again, somebody can comment to that at the end. Visibility into existing yards was shared by one of our neighbors to the west of 268 Albert Street. We have discussed options to install privacy fences on the west side of the patios if in summer it appears that tenants are using their patios for more than barbecue and appear to be invasive on their backyard. Front yard property setback was questioned and why the building at 268 is not in alignment with other properties on the street. This was a variation, as you know, council, that was approved to allow for parking and drainage retention requirements. The proposed building at 272 would simply align with 268, so it would not further change setbacks. Height of the building was questioned and was a concern for some residents on the north side of the street. While this may be a concern, I would like to point out that current zoning for that property, even as an R1 already allows 35 feet of height for that development, which we are well within even in our R3 proposed or R2 proposed buildings. Tree removal was mentioned. We try and retain as many trees as possible in our developments, especially at the street where they can complement the development and help it fit in. I would also like to point out that trees on anyone's yard are their personal property, and at each owner's discretion what they leave and what they take away. Parking concerns have been raised with two key points being made. Will there be enough parking off-street? Yes, there will be, and we have done parking studies, as we shared at previous meetings, that we, at any given time, at every given time, there's 5 to 6 additional parking spots remaining empty during the study, during the duration of the study that we did. So yes, the ratio and the requirement of 1.5 parking spots in an R2 zone is well within required parking. Will there be more cars parking on the street? That was the second question. We have noted that some tenants on Victoria Street do park on the street at times for convenience. However, it should also be noted that street parking is common and is allowed in all neighborhoods. This is normal and expected in any neighborhood and is simply utilized more in some areas than others. Parking lots that we provide are more ample than ample to support the existing and the proposed development, and we can confirm that through our studies that City of Winkler bylaws are effective in creating ample parking spaces. Just about done. It is quite common that neighbors fear their property values going down as a result of these developments. I believe this is a common misconception. In many cases, when these projects happen, they replace an older home or homes which are in need of care, upkeep, or demolition. Putting up new, creative, attractive buildings can actually boost the perceived value of the neighborhood and provides a fresh look to the area. I believe that new life on these streets creates general community optimism. This has been discussed many times at council meetings with no credible data to support that values actually decrease. More crime and disturbances are anticipated. The laws of the community apply the same in single family and multifamily alike. Bylaws on noise and living peacefully are in place for a reason, and that can be enforced at any given time if needed. Residents of any of these buildings already know how hard it is to find a place to live in the City of Winkler. When they apply, their application is scrutinized, and there's references, and they are filtered, and so not everybody gets a place to live right now. So people recognize this, and I don't think they want to jeopardize their opportunity to live in a place by being a difficult tenant. Varying personal preferences were shared around change. And we know that when these developments happen, there definitely is change to the community. I understand that. I believe that these developments are beneficial to the overall community of Winkler and for all the new residents who will get to call these areas home. We don't want to discount or ignore the sacrifices that existing neighbors make when these developments come up. We do appreciate the feedback of the neighbors, all the friendly visits, the times that I was invited into homes to talk about this development. And should this project move ahead, we look forward to continuing our connections with neighbors as the project comes up and hearing their feedback for how we can do things better. Respectfully, again, we would like to encourage the council to support this project moving ahead for all the reasons listed above. And I thank you for hearing this long letter.
Thank you, Sam. Before we open up to the floor to anyone else, do we have questions of Sam? Or would you rather listen to every other comment first and then go from there? Is there anybody else in chambers who wishes to speak to this? And I'll ask anybody who does wish to please come to the microphone, state your name and then your point.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We've never been at a hearing before, so this is new. I'm not used to the order of how you do things.
No problem at all. I'll ask you to start with your name, if you don't mind, please, and your address.
Yeah, we are Corny and Lisa Hildebrand from 289 Albert Street.
Hi, Lisa.
And we've lived at this residence for 26 years. Am I able to read?
Please,
my-
absolutely, thank you.
Okay, with this letter, we want to inform you that we strongly object to both the proposed changes to Lot 3 from a lower density to a higher density property and to the front yard distance reduction. We would like it to remain the same as an R1 lower density property. Sam had mentioned that the R1 zoning already allows for a 30-some
35 foot.
yeah, but we don't see that as a problem, as that building wouldn't be as big if the homeowner were to replace it with a lower density, just a
Okay.
single family home. I have a photo that was taken yesterday of the building that was put up by Glenberg Homes this past year.
Okay.
And it is showing how much shade, am I?
Please.
able to bring it to you?
And
It shows how much shade that one building casts over the street and
have you shared this with our staff as well?
Yes, I
Okay.
sent it in today.
Excellent. What I will do is
The
pass
date
this
and
to each
time
of
is
council
on-
as well.
The date and time is on the one that I sent in. And often before the building is there, that was an empty lot, but before the building is there, often the homeowners around, they don't know what to expect. Like, they don't know how much shade is gonna be cast by such a tall building. And I'd also like to note that in some of the months in the winter, the sun is lower, and it would then be further behind that building, casting a longer shadow onto the street and onto our house. So potentially with this 12-unit building, that's 9, we would have the sun being blocked from the windows. Like, I don't want to have to turn on my lights during a sunny day in the winter. Like, I like sunlight in my house. My whole house is lit up with sun. But, and Angie, I think that was her name, she said, what is your favorite place in your home? Yeah, it's my living room, where my sun is shining in. And we have 4 grandchildren, and I knit sweaters for them in my living room because it's a nice lit up place. I can see well. Knitting is hard on the eyes because, especially when you're farsighted, then it really hurts the eyes to constantly be looking like so close. So I'll just continue here.
Please.
We don't have our neighbors here, so I won't address them, but it was an apology to them for not opposing that building at 268 because of, this shadow that it's casting and the parking that there's, I think only 3 units are being rented so far, maybe 2 or 3, and there's already parking on the street. And the parking on the street is right in front of our house. It's not on the other side. We think that building at 268, the building looks out of place and the lot size inadequate for the height and size of the building. It does not look like it belongs in the area, with the height of the building also being out of proportion with the distance to the street. It looks too tall for as close to the street as it is. The examples we were given were the ones down Victoria. Those buildings are 42 feet and 10 inches, I think. We kind of measured, I don't know if that's exactly right, but it is 42 feet from the street. I don't know what the distance is from where the city owns the property, but to be practical, from the street it's 42 feet, and these ones are 26.
Okay.
So if Glenberg is giving, Sorry?
And that's to the house.
Yeah, to the street, yeah, from the building to the street, not the
Gotcha.
porch. The porch is even closer. So those are the examples given, and that's a big distance. It's a big difference, and it makes a big difference when the height of the building is that high. So we think it looks out of place. Yeah, and it's very close to the neighbor's home there, and it's not even matching in line, so that makes it look like it is desperate for room on the lot. The building looks too busy for the area with the amount of windows, doors, porches, and lighting. There is, like in the dark, each window becomes a light. It's not just the lights on the building, each window becomes a light. We suggest that there should be blinds put in, and as a condition of the rental. Our greatest objections to the changes, oh, by the way, that building, is there a picture of that building? It has, I think it was 19 windows. I'm not sure. I didn't count exactly, but a lot of windows on one lot, a lot of porches on one lot, and exterior doors. So our biggest objections are that we don't want a large multi-unit rental apartment building on the lot across the street from us, blocking out the sun. And you saw that picture there with the sun being blocked out. I think I said most of that. So currently we have a view out of our living room window of trees and the house behind it. It's nicely set back and it looks normal to the surrounding area. It's a nice scene from our window. It's actually the only nice scene we have from our house because both sides of our house has neighbors and the back has Winkler Meats. That's not a nice scene, especially with all the equipment they're putting onto their roof. You can actually see it from the street now and in our backyard. So the only nice view we have is the living room window south there, and it has 3 evergreens. And when the snow is on there, it actually makes quite a nice scene. So the second objection is we don't want the higher population of people crowded all onto the lot across from us. So that's like a whole neighborhood of people on those 2 lots. 12 units plus 9, that's 21 families all on one lot across the street from us. We, like I said, we've been living there 26 years, and now that we have the house paid off, now we're living in a place with a community right across, a whole neighborhood across the street from us. Also, rental properties often have a higher turnaround, like with people constantly moving in and out, so that takes away connectiveness to neighbors. With residents moving in and out and often don't meet the characteristics of dedicated homeowners who care about their property and neighbors and stay living in the area for longer. We want the privacy that a lower density population and normal sized homes in the area bring to our property, like it was when we moved there. We haven't needed to close our shades or living room curtains for privacy. Like, we don't have to. We can if we want to, but we don't have to for privacy. But with these, more than 20 windows across the street from us, and did you know that each unit has at least 1 window facing our house from each unit? Like, if they all wanted to look at our place, they could. So I'd have to close my window now. I'd have to, because just to have a little bit of privacy, because when you look in the living room window, you can look through our whole main area. I'd actually have to find a window for my octagon window. A shade or something for my octagon window, because that building is so high, it would be able to look in there too, and that is looking throughout our whole house. Yeah, so that building would have 4 porches if it's 12 units, if he doesn't go down to 9. It would have 4 porches, 8 exterior doors, and more than 20 windows on one lot. We're concerned about how this proposed building will negatively affect our property value. Over the past weeks, we have spoken to many homeowners about this, and they agree with us that this would likely decrease the resale value. It may not decrease the value of the property, but it would decrease the resale value, as people don't want to live across from, next to, or surrounded by rental properties, especially large multi-unit rental apartment buildings. Our resale value and interest in our property would most likely decrease if we were to sell, and that of course would negatively affect us. It would take money out of our pocket in favor of the developer. Of course, he's a proponent of this building. Parking is also a big concern. We don't want people parking constantly in front of our house. We understand that public parking in front of a house happens, you know, there's a baby shower, or there's an event happening at a home, and that's fine. But this is constant parking. And the same 9-unit buildings on Victoria have people parking in front of the building a lot. And I know this because we have to drive down Victoria to get to our house, because since they closed off the traffic going left on Albert, since the 32 or First Street changes there. So I have a picture, and I actually wanted to take a picture every day, but I have a picture of where there's the two 9-unit buildings, and they have 6 people parked on the side of the road there, constantly. If there's adequate parking, why aren't they parking on their parking spots? Are the parking spots wide enough? Are they afraid of door dings? That's what we've heard from some people. Like, are the spots wide enough? And we're guessing that maybe it's because the entrance doors are closer to the street, and that's why they choose to park there, or because of the door dings. I don't know. And we suppose that would likely happen here on our street too, and we don't want that. So the more people living there, the greater the probability of that happening, right? So that was 9-unit, and this would be 12 units, so the greater probability. We've had that before with a neighbor that had been parking his vehicle there. It was an eyesore and a nuisance. So it feels like we're being challenged from the back and front of our property. The Winkler Meats expansion is in our backyard and still in progress, and we're slowly seeing changes that we don't like. This hearing isn't about that, so I'm not going to talk more about that, but there's a lot that could be said, and we couldn't have possibly known the effects of that before it happened, right? Just like this shade on this building here. We couldn't have known before we actually saw it, right? How big of a shade. I mean, that is a huge cast of shade there. And I know that in our octagon window right across the street, it happens from 10:30 in the morning, the sun is there, and all the way till 3. So we would have the sun blocked out all from 10:30 till whenever it goes down in the winter months. And I'm sure you guys already read about the additional traffic concern. Like, everybody has this letter, right? Yeah,
Yes,
so
we do.
we have a lot of traffic coming down our street from because it's closed off down 32 there, and I'm sure you guys have read all that. I don't know if I should state that here now. So we would just like to remind this council, I'm not done yet, I have a little bit more here. Oh, I shouldn't be. So if this proposal is about providing housing, actually I will read the top part. This is not accusatory to this council, but I will read this. Some things that people have told us about other councils, and there are some corrections here. It should actually say city councils often prioritize. Okay, I'll just read it. We have been told and have concerns that city councils often prioritize the interests of developers and investors over those of existing homeowners under the banner of solving a housing shortage. These actions often involve zoning changes that increase density in established single-family neighborhoods, which we believe benefit private interests more than they provide truly affordable housing for local residents. If this proposal is about providing housing, how about the need for rental housing for larger families who don't have the option to buy a home and need to rent, such as the lot and home being discussed here? Lot 3 on Albert Street is not an empty lot. Like, we're not discussing an empty lot here. There is already a house there. There is a home with 6 bedrooms. That currently is providing housing and a yard to a larger family with 6 children. And, for whatever reason, they can't buy a home, but it's not the children's fault. They still need a place to live. The family living there would like to stay and say that there are very few affordable rental housing options for them that can accommodate their family of 8. They were staying in a hotel before they moved to this present address a year ago. So there's already housing being provided there. Here are some other points to consider. Actually, I won't read that part. I will read my questions. Opponents, primarily, that's us, primarily current homeowners, believe that this erodes, like the upzoning, this erodes neighborhood character, connectiveness, and lowers their property values while simultaneously driving up land values and the final cost of the new denser units. And so we have a question: will our property tax increase or be levied differently if the vote is in favor of this proposal? I'll just read the rest of this here. Critics point out that much of the new development is not genuinely affordable for average residents, and we think too that it's not. It's $1,350 for a 2-bedroom unit there. The new units may rent or sell at market rates that remain high, allowing developers to profit without addressing the needs of low income or working class populations. So that would be under the banner of solving a housing shortage, which really doesn't, or a affordable housing. What else do I have here? I'll just leave. Some neighbors are still concerned of the overwhelming the sewer system during heavy rainfall, because I know sometimes there is, sometimes people are told to use less water so that there's less strain on the sewer. And see, some neighbors down the street have had water back up. And so I don't know, maybe you guys can address that. So I'll just get to the end here. So we just want to remind council that your vote, your mere vote and decision determines how we live. It affects our lives directly. We've lived there for 26 years and we want to continue living there. But there is so much happening in the area, like with Winkler Meats, like we're hearing a constant humming and it's like everything is just too much, and now the sun's supposed to be taken away and so much shade cast there. It's not that we don't like people, we just don't want the whole neighborhood in our front yard. Please consider that voting against our concerns in favor of the proposal respectfully may be a hypocritical vote, because it is voting against a fellow homeowner on a proposal that you yourselves would likely not want decided against you. And that's not everyone, and that's not to say that we don't like people. There's so many negative things all happening at one time, you know. We want to continue living there. We made our house nice, we have it paid off. I mean, if somebody were to tell you after you have your house paid off, well, everything's gonna change now. The sun's gonna be taken away, or like the sunshine, and there's going to be a huge $51 million expansion in your backyard that you don't know if it's going to be humming all night long. Like, I don't know, it's just too much at one time. And we'd prefer that it would just stay at an R1. We would like to encourage the council to address the need for housing with designated areas already zoned R3 for rental apartments of this size, not cumber neighborhoods with large crowded buildings that look out of place and where homeowners don't want them. I mean, there might be some streets where upzoning is fine. The neighbors welcome it, they like it, they want to take the dilapidated houses away, and it might make the community look better. And we don't have a problem with that. It's just that we don't want it across the street from our house. You know, if the people across the street from where these buildings are being put, if they're happy about it, then great. We just object to it.
Thank you for your thoughtful and detailed presentation. It's important for us always to have all of that information, and you certainly provided a fair amount of information and your consideration, and that's much appreciated. Council, do we have any comments or questions?
Very strong, compelling statements. Absolutely. I don't know, for myself, I don't know, you want opinions already?
I think we'll give everybody an opportunity to speak first, and then we can go from there. But certainly if you have a comment, by all means, Peter, but we'll debate afterwards.
Okay, then I'll wait for later.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you very much for that detailed
For us,
Thank you both.
statement.
for us, the cons, they outweigh the pros, because it's where we live.
Correct. Thank you. Is there anybody else in chambers who would like to speak? And I'll ask you the same. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and then make your presentation.
My name is Joanna Duig. My address is 271 Red Robin Lane. So
Hi,
I just have
Joanna.
a few comments that I've written down here. I am the homeowner of 271 Red Robin Lane, which is located directly behind 272 Albert Street. I did not oppose the construction of the new nineplex that is also behind my property, but I expressed my concerns about that building potentially affecting water drainage on my yard. Both my dad and I have been in contact with the city for multiple years now to try to get the drainage ditch behind the Red Robin Lane homes to drain away to George Avenue, as it was originally designed by the city engineer when the street was developed. Even before the new construction behind my house, rainwater from the neighboring Red Robin Lane houses would flood my yard to within a foot of my house, instead of draining away east due to obstructions in the ditch and the ditch being sloped down towards my yard instead of towards George Avenue. At times, my dad has had to pump away the standing water with equipment from the fire hall due to the ditch not draining. However, not only has the city not fixed this issue, but Glenberg was allowed to install a 12-inch pipe to drain the nineplex property on Albert Street to my backyard after we had expressed our concerns at the public hearing. Previously, the empty property behind me would at times be completely filled with water, but it did not overflow to my yard due to the berm built behind the Red Robin Lane yards. All this water is now supposed to drain to my yard instead of draining away to Albert Street, in addition to the water that already floods my property. I have been informed that the proposed project at 272 Albert Street is also going to have a pipe that drains to my yard, making these issues even worse. Therefore, I am opposed to this project until the city has fixed the drainage issue, and if there are larger drainage problems along Albert Street and George Avenue, then the city should not be approving new projects until those issues are fixed instead of flooding my yard. If the drainage problems are fixed, then I don't think I would have an objection to it.
Thank you. We heard Sam mention earlier too a drainage piece that was already in process. Jody, can you help us with that?
I'll ask Tim Weed from our engineering department to comment on that.
Yeah, quickly here. So there has been some work that's already been done. There was a pipe downstream that had been flooded. That was resolving, was causing a lot of the backup. There was also some grading issues between some of the downstream lots that have been also addressed. I'm not sure if Glenberg had addressed it or if that was, I know our bylaw enforcement officer was involved. I think there were some issues there that were cleared up. I had spoken with the engineer doing the review from our department, and I believe there was also some consideration to try and get the water to the street and not to the back swales. So there is some consideration for this being made.
So those are being worked on today or have already been
Some of
completed?
those things have already been done. From my understanding from talking with staff, I believe majority of them have been resolved. I will follow up to ensure that they have, but, yes.
For clarity, are you suggesting that if this project would move forward, Glenberg would have to submit and have the city approve a lot grading and drainage plan? And is the recommendation of the engineering department that the whole lot drain towards Albert Street?
That is correct.
Okay. So instead of sloping it back towards your lots, the plan would be for it to drain to Albert?
That would be very helpful.
And to my understanding, just to make sure I understand, Tim, 268, that drainage and the concern that you're referencing, it has already or is in process?
The pipe that was coming out of 268, yeah, it was a 12-inch pipe, and there's a smaller pipe that were cut out in there to control the flow that egresses. So the water is supposed to pool into the in the retention area or detention area that Glenberg installed originally.
Okay.
And the intent is to allow it to release into the swale, which was originally designed in the back there before that development was done, to release at the pre-development rate.
Okay.
So it is intended to take the water that was already there prior to Glenberg doing it, but do so at a controlled rate, so it's not all coming at one time and overwhelming the drainage.
Which would alleviate the concern that Johanna has.
Yeah, and that I understand that flow restriction or that conversion on that pipe was done so that it would control that flow.
Okay.
I just have a reply to that. So
Yeah,
I talked
please.
to Sam, because that's also what I was told, and he thought it was a retention at the back, so it's supposed to fill up and then drain.
Right.
But then when he talked, or one of his staff members talked to, I believe it was the engineering company, they confirmed they designed it to intentionally drain immediately to my yard. And it's not supposed to retain the water.
That's an interesting thing.
Yeah, sorry, so the term detention means that it doesn't permanently hold the water there, it's detaining it and allowing it to release at a controlled rate. So in the original design, it was intended to slow the water to drain, it allows it to fully drain out, but at a very slow rate or controlled rate.
Along that swale.
Yes.
Okay. And what I'm
Currently, it
hearing,
just drains instantly.
and that's what I'm hearing, is you're saying it doesn't detain, it doesn't
No.
slow it down, it pours it into your yard, is what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
because then I was told, first it was supposed to retain the water, and then they confirmed that no, that hole was supposed to be for the 1 in 5 year rain. Then it would slow down the flow when we have an above average rainfall.
And
No, it
please.
operates fully the whole time. So I mean, it's not selectively selecting for an event. As the water is accumulating, it is releasing at a specific rate. So the 12-inch pipe is oversized, it's not draining in a 12-inch pipe. I believe there was an insert put in with don't quote me, but I believe it was a 2-inch hole, I think was carved into it to allow it to release at that rate. Sorry, Tim, it was a 4-inch hole. Sorry, 4-inch.
So, and again, like you referenced it a little bit, Tim, the key piece on this would be that whatever water is coming off the property doesn't come at a rate greater than before the development.
Yeah, and the water still has to go somewhere, which currently it doesn't.
Yeah.
Move
and-
once it's on the.
Yeah, and that's correct. And just to be clear, like when that development was originally done, like Red Robin was an infill development.
Mhm.
And so when it was designed with the grading was at the time when it was approved, the grading was to take the water on the property side where Red Robin is positioned, the owners on there.
Okay.
So that's in conjunction with the water and sewer also placed in the back there. And so it's an unfortunate situation where the drainage isn't necessarily shared between property owners. It sort of sits on the one side and that side is responsible to take the water. In this case, the pre-existing development naturally would drain into there. What we're trying to do is make sure that it kind of drains at more or less the same rate when there's infill development. We can't design for every conceivable situation, but with the parameters that we have, this is what we're trying to accomplish, is to give it some level of retention, or sorry, detention.
Detention, yeah.
And try and not overwhelm any drainage downstream. And we had some issues there with, under the really heavy flows, the culverts that are along positional on George Avenue were woefully very full and plugged. They were cleaned out this year, and then there was identified that there was some significant grading errors in some of the downstream properties, which was causing the water to back up.
Okay,
And there's, those were from, we last checked, and that this fall, that had been resolved and been cleaned up at this point, so.
thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
May Joanna's dad have permission to speak? Just to clarify, and I've been in discussion with Sam and Nick. Our understanding of that present project that is now virtually complete, that there was supposed to be a retention area at the back of that property. We weren't aware of that pipe being installed, but it is on the drawings in that it was supposed to have a 75 mm orifice. It's now 100, but whatever. The thing about the retention is, it is, according to their engineers, that was designed for the 1 in 5 year rains. That and presently it will drain all the time. It's when the 1 in 5 year rains come, that's when it will be restricted. That anything over the flow that orifice can take will then drain to Albert Street. I just wanted to clarify that. It does presently drain all the time. Well,
Okay.
actually, they have rotated the hole to the
Okay,
top
we
now.
can certainly
which-
take a look at that and just
Yeah.
make sure that it's so compliant with the original design. We have no problem doing that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in chambers who'd like to comment?
Nick Sneeder from 10 Chevelle Bay, or from Glenberg Design Builders?
Glenberg Design Builders.
Okay. Yeah, I got both. Just as a point of clarity, I think, on that drainage, I was involved in a lot of those conversations early on with the AP came to our office, and we had a bunch of conversations. I went there to site and I looked at the drainage and what was done, and we worked together to kind of get an idea as to what we felt the issue was. And then in conjunction with talking to the city, planning and engineering, I believe the conversations with Dwayne, and then we discussed what we saw, and that lined up with what they were seeing, and they have made arrangements to have that corrected. And I can confirm, I was there myself with a laser level, and I checked things out, and they did cut 8 inches out downstream, so that is flowing properly. The culverts have been somewhat addressed for the most part. And I think some of the confusion lies on me, because I had misunderstood some of the original design.
Gotcha.
So the 1 in 5 year confusion probably lies with some conversations that I had. But yes, there is the, not retention, Tim, what'd you say?
Detention.
Detention, yes. So the water does always flow at a controlled rate. And then once it hits that 1 in 5 year, or that larger rainfall, then it will hold the water back. And then eventually, if it gets too high, it will flow onto Albert Street from there. So just so that I think we're kind of all on the same page.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in chambers who would like to comment? Council have any questions or thoughts?
I guess I have a question. I understood, I thought from your conversation that this one will drain to the North Street, Albert Street. And so that's different than the other one, is that correct?
Yeah, Stephanie Jans, Planning and Permitting Manager. If you, under the report, there's a note that our Engineering Services Department is recommending that this drainage plan be required to drain north to the street, that it be designed differently than 268, so that this is better mitigated.
Thank you.
I just hope the smaller hole is at the upstream side, not the downstream side, so it doesn't plug up. Thank you. On the other note, we have the report to council, there's a lot of red dots on that report. There's a lot of things that say this shouldn't happen. And I struggle with allowing another large building right next to the other one. I see there's opposition to this. Maybe R1, like the opponent said, maybe that's the best way to go, and that does allow for a duplex, and not for a 9 or a 12-plex. Some of the infill has been done on empty lots, and I think that's probably, for myself, a little more palatable than having it on an existing home where someone's already living. So it's a strong case by the neighbors.
Do we have any questions of anything that we've heard here this evening?
Quick question for staff, just to jog my memory. The neighboring property there at 268, what was the zoning on that?
So that one was zoned R2,
Okay.
but that was also during the time in which the density allowed up to 20 dwelling units per acre.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a changing situation where the same build with the proposed same density, if you were to look at the 9-unit model or density, would actually be closer to the R3 zoning than R2, because we've gone back to 15 dwelling units per acre as the maximum.
Right. I'll ask again if anyone has any questions before we close the hearing and make a decision.
Sam wants to say something yet.
Please,
Hand up.
Sam.
Sorry, when you said in chambers, I assumed that excluded me, but maybe I should have spoken earlier.
I see you clearly in chambers here, Mr. Berg.
Okay, all right. I guess I lack experience here. Okay, so I just want to speak to a few of the things. Shade on the road and onto the neighbors' yards. We have opportunity to use modeling software that shows heights and angles of sun at different times of the year and so on and so forth. I don't believe that any of the modeling that we've done till this day would support that shade would get to their home. Although will it cover the road, there's a high probability it will cover the road at certain times of the year. Examples of, examples of building depth. Okay, so I want to apologize if I misled the neighbors at any time on the 268 building when I was bringing the pictures of the Main Street project. At no time did I think that I was actually communicating the depth or that sort of thing where the building was. I thought for the most part it was to communicate what the building could look like and what they would be staring at. And so I apologize if in any way I was misleading there. We did apply for the setback that we installed the building at, and that was in the application documents that we provided that were made public. I will also point out that there are a number of neighbors that have asked, oh, so you're putting up a sixplex here. And because if you know this building, of course, you know that it does look like a sixplex from the front, and it still does, because there's just 6 doors on our 9 plexes, that is, right? So there would be 8 doors on a 12, right? One of the comments from Lisa was just about the lights in the windows and adding blinds. And I just want to volunteer that if blinds in all of those windows would benefit the neighborhood, we would have no problem doing that. I would also say that after discussing this application with planning department, I think that it makes sense to reduce the overall density on this property to go to a 9-plex here rather to mirror the other project, and Glenberg Design Builders would be open to reducing it to 9, and then following the lead of council, whether they prefer it to then be an R3 zone to accommodate the new higher density, because the density numbers have changed on the zone, or whether you prefer to see it the same as an R2. We meet the requirements with our parking, and I'll give the details as well. So I think that the red dots that Peter mentioned there, a lot of those red dots disappear when we go to nine suites and go to R2. A lot of that disappears. Reselling homes and how difficult that is. On 115 Main Street, we see a perfect example of that actually right across the street. There was a young gentleman living in a home there across the street and put up for sale, and it was very quickly purchased by a young lady who is living there now, who I had the pleasure of getting to know when we applied for the development actually in Pembina a few months back. Parking spots, like it was mentioned about Victoria Street, and I can tell you exactly what's going on there because I have a spy living in that building who is my daughter, so she gets to see what's going on that street. And yes, like when it comes to pictures, for the last 2 weeks we've taken about somewhere between 500 and 700 pictures on that street every day, actually. And so what's happening there very often is yes, tenants that are coming home for lunch for a quick in and out, and if their door's on the front, they do often park at the street. There is also a small business that's going on in one of those suites, and some massage therapy stuff, so there's often traffic as a result of that as well. As far as affordable home for the family that is living in that home, we will do everything that we can to find them appropriate accommodations. We don't want to see anybody homeless or not having a place that's reasonable for them. Answer to water and sewer concerns, that's something that we've talked to the planning department before, and that's in their report too, obviously, that when they're doing their due diligence, they make their calculations for what is and what isn't suitable for that development. And yeah, drainage, I just wanted to be clear for Johanna's yard, we never ever intended to create a view yard. I'm so sorry that it felt that way, and I hope that with that soil being reshaped and regraded, that problem is going to go away. I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Sam.
So one question, sorry, it sounds worse and worse throughout the meeting here. So if it was to go to a 9-plex, how much parking would there be then in the rear yard? Like how many parking spots I would?
I don't have, well, I would have the document from you, but I might lose you guys on my page here, but I believe it's 16 is what the design intention is, which would match the other one there. So
okay.
With 9 suites, that's 1.5 plus 1, which would be typical R2. Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 1.5 plus 1.
Yeah, I'm just pulling open the 9-plex concept plan, and it's indicating 16 parking stalls.
Okay. Thank you.
In the report, though, it says that the previous 9-plex with R2 was when we had R2 at 20 dwelling units per acre, though, right?
Correct.
Now
Yeah.
R2 is 15.
Yeah.
So R2 would give you 6 units now.
That's correct. If it changed to R2, it would be 6 without a variation.
That's where I would suggest leaving it up to your discretion whether we prefer to see it as an R3 to be able to accommodate the density. To us, it doesn't matter.
Okay. I think, at least I'll ask you to come back to the microphone here so we can speak.
I just wanted to add that the neighbors were still convinced while the building was being put up that it was a 6-unit because I guess it has the 6 exterior doors, but they were still convinced of that. And we went on vacation, so we weren't at the hearing, and we also just believed them. We should have looked into it more, and we regret it. We regret that building going up and it being rezoned to R3.
Thank you, and I will clarify, that building was rezoned to R2 at that time. We had slightly different rules for our R2 at that time. So when it was rezoned, we had the ability to have up to 20 dwelling units per acre, which, Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, would have worked for that 9 Is that correct?
So it just changed.
We changed our rules to slightly decrease the amount that could go into an R2. We went from 20 per acre down to 15 per acre.
Yeah, so just to clarify, at 268 Albert, it was zoned R2, and then council approved a variance increasing the density from 20 dwelling units per acre up to 23, which allowed that bump from 8 to 9 dwelling units.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't see further comments here now. Council, do you have further questions? Sorry, Andrew, please go ahead.
There was many comments from Lisa in this about the building height and the shadows, but just want to be clear, the building height in whichever zone it is, whether it's R1, R2, R3, can still be that tall. So this being R1, R2, R3 doesn't affect the building height limitations because they can be built that high with whatever zone it is.
Correct.
And I also haven't seen any properties in Winkler go down in the last how many these, but.
Correct. Lisa, I believe you have another comment. I'll ask you to come to the microphone, please, if you have a comment.
Yeah. We understand that this R1 could still have a building, a high building. But we think that this is a speculative buy in favor of the developer. And if somebody would happen to buy that home and that lot for that price, tear it down and put up a new house, we can't do anything about that. It'd be great, actually, it'd be a beautiful house if a person would do that. But we believe this is just a speculative buy for in favor of this development.
Appreciate your comment. Thank you.
And I also think that if they did that, it would be narrower and it would be set back on the property.
Yeah, and you can see
Good
the
points.
shadow
Thank you.
cast there. That's a huge shadow. That's just the one building. And then both front yards in our on our side would be shaded out like that. And yeah, the sun does go lower on certain months in the winter, and that sun is hidden further behind that building. That picture was taken yesterday at 2:37 p.m. and the sun does get lower on some.
But somebody could
Thank
build
you.
their own house that big and could still have that same shadow.
Yeah,
That argument isn't really valid here.
but I already said that if that person would buy that house and property at, I don't know how much, 300,000, tear it down and then build a house there, it probably wouldn't be as big as that 9-unit, and it would, it would be a single-family home still. Like.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments.
So is this?
I have another question about this 1 in 5 years. Since when are we designing to 1 in 5 year events?
Andrew, sorry, it's a 1 in 25 with a 1 in 5 pre-development runoff rate.
So for clarity, Tim, new developments would be done at 1 in 25?
Yes, so there's a it has to hold up to the 1 in 25.
I can't hear Tim.
Can you hear me?
Is that mic off?
Tim's still speaking, I can't hear him.
Hang on 1 second. We're trying to get them online now.
Just hold, get close.
Can you hear me, Andrew?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so under the development for stormwater, we require detention to the 1 in 25 post-development, and it has to release at the 1 in 5 pre-development flow rate. So there's what's required for detention and what's the release rate.
Okay.
Does that make a little more sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there's been a lot of numbers thrown around between 6 and 9 and 12. This existing one that has been completed now, is that a 12 or a 9?
9.
That's a 9.
That is a 9, okay. I was under the impression it was a 12, okay.
I guess
Council-
one further question, if it was a 9, would you then move it back so that it wouldn't affect the across the road shadows as much, or does it still have to be to as much to the front?
A question of Stephanie or of Sam? Marvin?
That doesn't, either, well, I guess Sam, like whether they would consider it, but Stephanie, whether it would still be possible to have enough parking spots in the back.
So parking spots, I'll speak to that, that's no problem, the parking spots would stay the same. We could move it back because we don't need any grass space or retention area there specifically, so could we push that building back to be in alignment? Yeah, we could gain almost 10 feet moving back.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Council, are we ready to close the hearing and have the debate? I'll ask the question. Be it resolved that the combined public hearings for bylaw number 2354-25 and variance number 2025-024 be closed. Mover?
Ryan.
Second.
Marvin?
All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. We will then move on to the rezoning first. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2354-25 be given second reading. Mover?
Ryan.
Andrew.
Ryan got the move, Andrew got the second. Any comments and discussion?
Well, we've been talking about very different numbers now, so what's our number here that we're gonna suggest?
At this point, we're in the rezoning phase, but if we're rezoning it to, would we then suggest a maximum of 9? I think was what our staff's suggestion is, and I would certainly want to support that.
Is that specific to this property then? Because
Yes.
how do you do
Yeah.
that?
It's a condition of the rezoning.
Correct.
Okay.
And particularly comments, firstly, for neighborhood build, and secondly, also making sure that we have enough service for future redevelopment of that street, should there be any or capacity on that street for future use,
Were we not told that that street was almost at capacity?
which is what brought us to the recommendation of 9. That would
What
leave some,
happens, what happens if there's another legitimate?
that's why the discussion is to move it to 9, so that there remains some capacity for future redevelopment. Jody, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Tim, could you speak to that a little bit? I don't think we're saying that a 9 unit maxes out our sewer capacity. I think staff are recommending that
We leave
in
the
light of
capacity.
possible future changes, that it leaves more room for others. I think that's,
That's correct, yes.
yeah. So it's not like we're so close to capacity that this is going to cause issues. If that were the case, then engineering services would not be recommending this.
And what I specifically felt there was a direction that staff asked of council at some time ago. Is it first one there gets to build and no one else has an opportunity? Or do we make sure that it's an equal opportunity for
That's right.
all in the future as well, not just today's opportunity?
That's right.
Now, there was a comment, I guess this is to Tim, there's a comment made that in the past with flooding, there had been some sewer problems. Is that due to this, or that just was that typical of the high incidence that time?
I would defer that probably to the exceptional. I would defer that probably to the exceptional events that we've had in the past. I'm not aware of any specific issues that have been as of late. I do know that with Winkler Meats expansion, a significant amount of flow is no longer flowing down George Avenue down that segment, and that was diverted north. So since they've done their expansion, there's been a significant reduction of flow along that sewer line that collects along there.
I'd also say, like, it's hard to say what variables all impact a particular incident. So it's a hard thing for us to comment on
Yeah.
without more specific information.
Thank you.
We've asked the question for second reading. Are you ready for it?
What, are you clarifying it, or?
So I think-
We'll clarify the details in third reading.
Yeah.
Right now, we're giving it second reading, and then in third reading, we'll specifically put the requirement to 9 at that point. Or, does that make sense, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see anything further here right now. All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? That is carried 4-2. We will then move into third reading. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2353-25 be given third reading, subject to a development agreement permitting up to a maximum of 9 dwelling units and city approval of engineered grading and service plans. Mover.
Ryan.
Second.
Michael?
Further thoughts or questions?
Just wondering why we applied for 12 when we were gonna settle for 9 anyway. And what,
That was what was initially planned.
it would have been lopsided if there would have been a 12 as opposed to a 9, which was existing.
I still wonder, Henry, if we should, like, there's been a whole bunch of these, like, what would this look like if they're all R2? Should we change a whole bunch of these to R2 instead of making it that dense with R3? I don't know.
I think what I would like, and that's a valid question, Andrew, that we should send to our planning committee to have a further look at what that looks like. That's where the previous conversation came to this point where we said, this is the density we're comfortable in R2. And then we re-looked at it and had a different discussion, and then it ultimately changed. It wouldn't be,
Right.
it wouldn't be part of this
Said it's too
discussion
dense for R2,
today.
right?
What's that?
You said, it seems way too dense for an R2.
And that was the discussion at that time. We changed the R2 density allowances.
Right, so it seems like this would be an appropriate lot to have as R2.
And if it was an R2, I would be supportive of it.
Said you
So
would be.
I would if it was R2 instead of R3.
So our question here then,
I know
and,
our question right now is,
right, we're mid-question. Would you like to change the question? Would you like to look at future plans? How would you like to move forward, Andrew? The discussion right now is rezoning to R3 with a requirement of a maximum of 9 units and also engineered grading and service plans. It changes the application, but it hears the community that says it's too much, and it asks them to back off based on our city staff. The application, Peter, did come in at 12, and our staff suggested that 9 would be better. And right now, our proponent has said they would be okay with 9. I feel it makes sense at this point. We've looked at this. We've had a good conversation to it. We've taken this a step back. But it is council who has the determination.
And for myself, it's normally a much easier, cleaner, quicker decision when there is no objection. But we clearly have an objection, not just with a letter, but we clearly have a petition.
Agreed.
So for me, this is, and it's right from the neighbors right across the road. It's not from half a block down. This is,
Right.
this is affecting people like right now, today.
Correct.
That's a difficult thing to overcome.
I agree with that comment. And I think historically, I have looked at it that way when we build in a neighborhood. The requests of the neighborhood has been important to me. And that's why I was wondering whether we could move the house back, the building back. That would kind of help to alleviate some of the neighbors' information. I guess, so if it was an R2, what would be the maximum then?
6.
6 units.
Yeah, 6 units, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so is that a possibility to change it at this point, or how does that work? What's the procedure?
We're right now looking to rezone it to an R3 with a maximum of 9. I would imagine we could rezone it as R3 to a maximum of 6 if that's what council wanted. And help me understand process or do we take a full step back and defeat it and ask it to be brought forward in a different way? I'm asking right now what our options are, maybe Stephanie.
Sure. So I guess there's several options. If council feels R3 zoning is inappropriate for this location, you could simply choose not to give second and third reading. The applicant would have.
Second's given.
Second we've got.
Excuse me, you would not proceed with third reading. Alternatively, the applicant could reapply for R2 zoning for either 6 or 9. If it were 9, they would need to additionally request a minor or a
Major
density variance major. So that would be a separate public hearing. The basis for 9 dwelling units in our report is not deliberately to repress the density, but to accommodate, to restrict the density on the basis of available sewer capacity. So I did check with the province, and they were comfortable with us restricting density to 9 on the basis of the sewer capacity, and that could be run with the land. It would be a permanent restriction on title until such time that council were to, future council, let's say, when the house is at the end of its life cycle, were to discharge that, and at that time there could be a new application to rezone. I'm not as confident in just selecting 6 units as the density in R3.
Okay.
In my opinion, if that's the direction that council would like to take, it would be administratively cleaner to proceed with R2 zoning.
Which,
Thereby defeating.
correct,
Yeah.
a new application.
Okay, so all you have here, Henry, then is a question, R3 with 9, that's your question.
That is my question, with the secondary part, city approval of engineered grading and service plans. I think we've had a good discussion here. I think I'm ready for the question. I would ask council if you are also ready for the question.
So do you have the whole one with the?
I will give it to you one more time. Bylaw number 2353-25 be given third reading, subject to a development agreement permitting up to a maximum of 9 dwelling units and city approval of engineered grading and service plans. We've already got a mover and a second. Do we have any final questions?
What length of time would be involved, and what's involved in reapplying?
So that process, like, the applicant would need to file an application, pay the fee. We would prepare first reading at the next available council meeting. After first reading, we would advertise for the public hearing, which typically happens 4 to 5 weeks later. All things, the stars aligned, because there's requirements to advertise at least 27 days prior to the hearing, and we have to publish it twice in the paper. So there are logistically, like, planning legislative requirements. I could quickly do the math, but depending on when the application came in, you're looking at least 6 to 8 weeks to meet here again and have another public hearing.
Okay.
First meeting in January then?
Yeah.
I think this question deserves an answer.
Yeah.
And when we take a look at where we are, we have a project in that area already. We have a decrease in size from the one that's proposed. I don't know if you have further questions that you would like to have answers for before you're ready for the vote. Andrew, do you have any final questions before you're ready for the vote?
Questions? No.
Okay. All those in favor? All opposed?
This is extremely difficult. It keeps happening. We keep saying we're gonna look at, I think we need to do more as council to keep looking at all these different things, because they keep asking for different things, it seems. So I'm gonna vote for them to reapply, so I'll vote no.
Okay. 2 vote in favor, 4 vote in
But I think it's somewhat unfair to these guys.
Well, we have 2 in favor, 4 noes. It is defeated. And I will say, to your point, we do have this at the table regularly for review. We did this last year. We will do so again based on the request. But I would suggest to council that when we take a look at these, it is important that we get to a place of clarity.
Yeah.
So that we're able to provide some direction to our community in terms of what are we looking for.
Right, because a lot of these, I appreciate all the feedback from the nearby residents, and we always want to take that into consideration. But some of the comments that are there, I would argue a lot of them aren't even valid for what we're doing here, but
Okay.
neither here nor there.
Thank you for your comments, Andrew. We do not need to look at the variance tonight then, Stephanie, if I'm correct? Because it will be a different hearing the next time we're here.
Would it be cleaner if
We still need to make a decision, though.
there's an application? We should
Okay.
put it up.
Now, it's just for the front yard setback, right?
Uh,
I think so.
Let's take a look at
You
that.
would,
Yeah, it's a front yard
you would,
setback.
I mean, in light of the fact that you defeated third reading,
It makes very little sense to do anything other than to defeat this at
Correct.
this point.
correct?
We do have to put it on the floor, though. Be it resolved that council approve variance number VA 2025-024, subject to written approval from Manitoba Hydro. Mover?
Peter.
Second.
Marvin.
Marvin got the second. All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? And that is defeated. Be it resolved that public hearings be adjourned and regular council reconvene. Mover?
Ryan?
Peter got it, Ryan got the
I
second.
didn't even open my mouth this time.
Me.
Michael sounded like Peter. Michael got the motion, Ryan got the second. All in favor?
Yeah.
Carried. That takes us to questions from media or public relevant to this meeting of council. That then takes us to be it resolved that this regular meeting of council be adjourned. Mover?
I'll do that.
Peter, thank you. Second?
Marvin.
Marvin. All in favor? We're carried. Thank you very much.